My name is Justin Meekum.
My name is Andrew Peltecki.
My name is Ryan Hallstrom.
My name is Bryce Dinger.
The first time I had the idea to take my friends to Tikaboo Peak was initially many years ago, almost starting in my childhood. I've had a fascination with what's now considered UAPs and the mystery that surrounds Detachment 3 or Area 51. I think everybody has a little bit of knowledge of it, even if you aren't somebody that follows that subject.
I first found out I was going to Tikaboo Peak when my good friend Justin came to my store and said, "Hey Andrew, I got a question. How would you like to go on the craziest adventure of your life?" And I'm like, "Sign me up."
And he seemed unbelievably excited that we were going to go on such a crazy adventure to basically see Area 51 and hopefully maybe see some aliens.
If I'm to be honest, I didn't find out till I was going to Tikaboo Peak until about 2 days before the actual trip. The entire time I thought I was going camping to an innocent camping site somewhere in the middle of the desert with just a couple of friends.
There was realistic expectations. I thought we were going to have a good time. I thought we were going to have a guys trip where we camp and we can kind of leave the normal stressors at home.
I didn't know what to expect, but I was just so happy and thrilled that we're going to all hang out together. We haven't done that in such a long time.
My initial expectations were low.
My initial expectations of this trip were to go to Area 51 and potentially see some aliens.
You also have that expectation kind of that starts with your childhood again, where you hope to see something that no one's ever seen before, that you want to see something unexplainable. And the trip gave us that, but it almost, looking back on it, it gave us more, because it's almost too good to be true what happened to us at Tikaboo Peak.
And finally, when the morning came, I had all my gear packed up. I was like triple checking everything, making sure that I had everything ready for this amazing adventure that we were going to go on. I was unbelievably excited. I couldn't wait. I didn't know what was going to happen.
We originally were supposed to meet at my pad, but somebody in the group decided it'd be better to meet at Justin's place out of convenience. So I loaded up the Subi, got all the things I thought were necessary in there, showed up to Justin's house. We started loading it all up, and sure enough, first thing I realized, I forgot a blanket and a pillow.
We had an entertaining start to our adventure with a location change that would render Andrew without a blanket, without a sleeping bag. It would make him very cold for the trip. There wasn't even ratchet straps for the top of the car. So I'm up there on the top of the vehicle at 6:30 in the morning using knots that I've only learned before on paper to try to attach everything safely until we got to the local Home Depot to buy ratchet straps. And once we finally got the car on the road, we happened to see a guy who stopped us in a truck and asked us, "Where are you guys going?" And you can hear the excitement in our voices when we all scream,
"We're going to Area 51!
For me, the trip really started to Tikaboo Peak when we got to the wildlife refuge between the lower and upper lake. When we made that left onto mile marker 23 and hit dirt road, everybody's demeanor changed in a good way. We felt like the adventure, at least I felt like the adventure had really started.
Definitely had some red flags.
Everybody was scared.
I didn't know what to expect. I was excited, I was nervous, but all I know was after watching 500 different YouTube videos about the Subaru Outback Wilderness, that no matter what was gonna come our way, we would be able to handle it.
One, the car was weighted down beyond its capacity, okay?
The whole point of off-roading, so the bottom of the car is as far as from the ground as you can get it. The higher the better, because you don't want to do something called bottoming out.
And then we started getting into like the river rapids, and that's when I was really freaking out, because this car, although it's, you know, 4-wheel drive, it has the capabilities of doing what it's got to do to get there. I was freaking out because I'm in the back seat and I'm hearing crunch here, grinding there. You know, we're slipping and there's water splashing up from the sides. Like,
The entire terrain changed. We went from rock, sand, dry desert to mud, water.
and then we came to the scariest part of the whole trip, which was probably, I don't know, an 8-foot just cavern ravine drop. And somehow we had to get over this thing, and we had no tools to get us out of here. So we had one shot. So we all got out of the car. We assessed the situation. We said, hey, just go at it like this. I think we're gonna get lucky. And then we got stuck.
This was a trench that it looked like someone had put it there. Like a Sasquatch didn't want anyone in his backyard.
Getting stuck initially put a real down on the entire situation, but it just showed you the commitment that the group had to what we wanted to accomplish that weekend when we dug rocks out of the ground with our bare hands. We moved mud.
We had no tools, we had hands, we had rocks, and somebody found, it looked like an old muffler pipe that the gods had sent to us.
To be honest, at that moment, I wasn't really afraid yet. It hadn't really sinked in what had just happened. The fact that my car, you know, that I just bought a few months ago was stuck in a 4-foot ditch didn't really faze me. What was really exciting was to see the camaraderie amongst the group and everyone getting out there to try to like get this car out of there as quickly as possible.
So we dug, you know, we found boulders and rocks, and we just slowly inched and wedged this car out of this like crazy little crevice. And I honestly was freaking out the whole time, but we did it. We managed to get out of this rut, and then we made it through, and we continued on our journey up to Tikaboo Peak.
The day of the hike was a sleepless night.
Maybe 3 hours of sleep total amongst 5 grown men.
I got no sleep the night before.
I don't know if any of them slept at all, to be honest with you, because there were critters and creatures walking all around the tent.
You know that anxious feeling you get before the day of a big event? Well, add the forest, the nightlife, all the snaps of twigs from the local wildlife. Even on 4 or 5 hours of sleep, we all got up, got food in our bellies, packed our bags almost perfectly, and we stepped off.
You're talking about 1,000-foot incline in a matter of 1 mile. Yeah, it was pretty intense.
It is not easy to do. It is definitely expert mode, and I was a little worried, you know? I didn't want to fall too far behind. I knew the rest of the crew were, you know, pretty capable of hiking, and, you know, they work out and stuff like that, but I was still eager to try and to continue on. I had to get to the top.
It was a walk up a hill. The hardest part that I will not deny was the rocky, steep ass shit.
When we first came to the false peak and we saw the saddle and then we saw Tikaboo Peak, that electricity came back, everybody's adrenaline rose. And then when you see the weather station with the camera at the top, that it's like a beacon of where to go, everything just got a lot easier at that point.
And then finally, one by one, we just get to the Eagle's Nest, and we reach the top of Tikaboo Peak, and it was unbelievably amazing.
Holy!
Look. There it is. Sign it. You made it. Sign it. You made it.
We did it.
Damn, boys.
On a list of maybe like 500 people.
Ryan?
The view, the wind, the scenery, everything about it just screamed, we did it.
You could see it with the naked eye. The second you got up to Eagle's Nest, you could see it. You just look forward. It's there. It's just, you know, this collection of ominous buildings.
The whole thing like just sank in that we are now literally looking at Area 51, and we have all this equipment here, and we're on camera. We've been on camera for at least the past, I don't know how long. It just felt like we were accomplished, but at the same time, I felt as though, you know, like a little bit nervous. Honestly, I was more nervous when we first got there, but after about 15 to 20 minutes of just hanging out, the nerves settled and I felt fine.
When we reached the summit and stood at the top, kind of got that breath of fresh air, it felt so good to finally be there. There wasn't a feeling of we were doing something wrong. There wasn't a negative emotion. The trip itself, once we got to the peak, for me was just pure excitement. We were at Tikaboo Peak for about 2 hours, and we had great footage. We were happy with the pictures. I said out loud to the group, I said, you know, it's been a fun trip, but if you could send us a fast mover for something exciting so we could tell a story when we get home.
And then we hear it. A sound that we didn't think we were gonna hear.
Really low sound that I know I'd heard 1,000 times before, 100 million times before, maybe not as specific, but I knew it was a helicopter. But it didn't make sense that I was hearing a helicopter on the Eagle's Nest staring down Area 51.
At that moment, I was already so nervous prior to that occurring that when it did happen, I was like, well, I mean, what do we expect what's gonna happen, guys? Like, I just kind of embraced it. And I'm like, there's no running. We're 8,000 feet in the sky. If we try to run down, we're dead. If we, you know, I mean, there's really no option but just to sit there and embrace it and enjoy the moment. So that's what I did.
The sound and what it did to us, our spirits, seeing Matt rip open the bag and assemble the camera equipment as fast as he could, and Ryan is getting the GoPros set up and everybody's phones are coming out, and we can't locate this thing, and then to come to find out that the noise is getting louder, that the aircraft is getting closer, and Ryan's trying to help Bryce see it on the horizon line as it approaches our position.
And I finally spot it in the distance, coming from Area 51, a black dot.
It was low, my God, it was so low. If it would come across a light pole, I swear to God, this thing would have just taken it out. It looked like it was on the road. It was so low.
For me, when the aircraft passed through the canyon and then went behind us down towards our campsite, the whole tone shifted for me. I felt for the first time like we had broken the law. I felt like I had not done enough research on the event. I felt like we were about to go from having a really good time to all in really big trouble.
So we see this chopper flying by, and it's flying around for some time now. It's going over to our base camp. It's just hovering there. We see it like dropping a line down, and then it lifts the line up. We're not sure what's going on.
He hovers down below the mountain, hangs out there for maybe, 10, 15, 20 seconds, comes back up over the ridge, starts to fly forward, and we're kind of thinking like, okay, he's just on his way to somewhere else. Maybe he wasn't flying at us. Maybe he was just flying past us.
And there's a lot of dialogue of us going back and forth whether or not the helicopter was there for fun or whether it was there as a show of force. And I think that my military background probably played to the extreme, and I was more worried about the safety and security of my team out there. And of course the camera equipment that we had and our cell phones, because I was fairly certain that they were going to be seized.
So he's flying over here. We're trying to get this shot over here. We're moving. We're like, should we pack up? Like, what do we do? We're not sure what's going on. And then the helicopter kind of starts getting closer to us. We're taking more pictures and videos. We're getting more like scared. We're not sure if we're not supposed to be there. And they're, telling us, hey, get the hell out of here. This is why we're here. Like, maybe they're showing some type of force. Like, I don't know. And then Bryce communicates to him.
I had a moment and a full hand-on-hand conversation with the guy that was in the back, in the slidey door. because we kept seeing this rope drop down. And we were all really scared that we were going to start seeing soldiers or bodies start sliding down the rope, you know, to come after us or whatever. And he wasn't trying to scare us away. There was a moment when I asked him, like, hey, do you want us to go to you? Do you want us to go to you? Like, do you want?
Bryce is doing hand and arm signals with the co-pilot, and he almost couldn't believe it. But this excitement started to build again.
Can we take pictures? He said, yes, take the pictures, yes. So we just lost it at what kind of confirmation that we had just received from an Area 51 soldier that we were allowed and encouraged to take photos of them.
And the guy in the chopper's like, no big deal, you guys are good. And then we felt comfortable. And then we knew it was okay to be there. We couldn't believe it. We're hugging each other. We're jumping up and down. We're high-fiving. We're waving at the helicopter. We just could not believe that this would ever happen. We go to the top of Tikaboo Peak, and guess what? They send out a helicopter to meet us and say hi.
Man, it was the most exhilarating feeling of my life.
So we had made a decision as a group that it was time to pack up everything and start to head back down to the saddle. And the aircraft is still buzzing us overhead at this point. It's probably been about 20-25 minutes.
And then we see the guy in the helicopter, and he throws down what looked like a yellow glow stick.
This is at the top of a mountain, and he's dropping down these things, and I guess he's giving us signals that he wants us to pick it up. And we're kind of telling him, like, dude, we can't get that, dude. Like, we're on a mountain. Like, it's way over there.
And the wind from the mountain kind of carried it, and it was long gone. Like, there was no way we'd be able to find this thing. It was just impossible. So I think the guy in the helicopter knew that. So they came back around, and they dropped us another glow stick.
Just drops, and you could see this yellow, pink. It was pink the second time. This pink fall into the bushes, and then they kind of give me this, you know, we're heading out. I kind of gave him like, all right, yeah, get out of here, you know.
When that pilot ripped back through the saddle and opened up the door and threw something out the side, we all made an agreement that we weren't going to go home with this story without finding what that aircraft had left us.
They're literally telling me we're about to go find a needle in a haystack, and I'm like, is that seriously what's happening right now? Sure enough.
So we start jumping over rocks. At this point, adrenaline is so high. I'm stepping on cactuses. I'm scraping my leg on rocks. We don't even care at this point. We are determined.
I mean, the idea that we had this unbelievable experience, but we didn't return home with the souvenir was not a fitting end to the story.
Justin, the leader of the group, screams out on the intercom, "I got it!" We all could not believe it. We all ran over to him and we saw this glow stick, and we just, it's insane. It's insane.
There he is. Justin, hold. He's got it. He's got it. I got that on camera, baby.
Proof, baby.
He's got it. Look at that.
We got proof!
Hold it up proud, boys.
U.S. government fueled up a chopper, got a team together, surrounded us, gave us an air show, and delivered us glow sticks.
Looking at the footage now, I'm confident that it was not a show of force.
I honestly believe there was some really, really amazing general sitting behind that desk. He saw 5 young men who were just passionate and wanted to experience something like they've never experienced before.
They came for us. They heard us. They knew we worked hard to get to the top of that Tikaboo Peak on a hot summer day. And I feel like they said, you know what? Let's give these guys a show, boys.
And I just felt like at a certain point, I knew exactly what these guys were doing. They might have gone up on paper for a certain reason, go in, harass these guys, get them to leave. But when they came out there, it was almost like they had a good sense of humor about the whole thing. They were really there for our entertainment. I think that this trip was a reward to a lot of effort, but I think that this trip showed us that this wasn't just a backpacking camping trip to a place that a lot of people go to.
A chopper from Area 51 came out to greet us. That's crazy. But I'll tell you one thing. We're gonna continue to go on some crazy adventures, and we're gonna find some awesome, cool things out there. That's what I do know.